to the Friday Five for January 13th, 2023. My name is Andrew Ayers. I'm an estate planning and business law attorney with offices in Edina, Minnesota and New York City. And here's 5 questions from the week, things that come up that are quick little questions that you may also have asked and would like some quick answers to. Number 1, does my power of attorney revoke a prior power of attorney? So obviously this came up with clients who are revising their estate plan, and one of the clients had previously signed a power of attorney years ago and wasn't sure if the new power of attorney we're working on would then revoke the prior power of attorney. It was actually signed when the client was in the military, and he was curious what the effect would be. And the simple answer is that most powers of attorney have a provision up front at the beginning of the document that says this hereby revokes all prior powers of attorney. Now, in most cases, this will be the option you want to choose. However, you want to talk to a professional in case there might be some reason why you'd want your power of attorney to still be in place, even though you signed a prior one. And when we're looking at powers of attorney, there's 2 different types you may run into. One's a financial, dealing with your financial issues. The second one is a healthcare power of attorney, which deals with who's making medical decisions. In both cases, they likely revoke your prior power of attorney, but you want to check and make sure that's what you want to do. Question number 2 for the week, also about powers of attorney. Can I be a witness to a power of attorney where I'm going to be the agent in fact, or the attorney in fact, depending on what state you're in? The answer to this is no, you should not be the witness to a power of attorney if you're going to then be the person acting under the power of attorney. You need to check specifically with your state and what the rules are regarding the power of attorney, but generally we want to disqualify family members and anybody who would then be the attorney in fact or the agent in fact under that power of attorney from being the witness. Question 3 this week, I just had a child. Should I do a whole new will or just do a codicil? And this question really depends, frankly, on whether you had children before or not. So let's say you already have 2 children and a 3rd child is born. There's a good chance that the will you have in place from when you only had 2 children is still going to be appropriate for you. You probably already have guardianship provisions in there, hopefully a testamentary trust or some kind of revocable living trust already in place, so that all we're doing is just adding the 3rd child to your current situation. However, if this is the first child you've had, then it may be a good idea for you to actually redo your entire will, or if you're doing one, create a trust that we make sure has all the right provisions. The reason being that if you don't have children, the provisions in your will are very different than when you do have children. Specifically, as I just discussed, things like guardians and trustees for children who are under the age of 18. If you don't have children, chances are those are not going to be in your documents, and we want to make sure your children are protected. So if you're looking at whether it's a codicil or whether it's a full revamp, I would look at whether or not you actually had children before and whether you have guardianship and trustee provisions. Question number 4, do I need to set up an LLC if I want to work as an independent contractor? The answer to this one simply is you don't have to, but it really depends upon what your future is going to look like as an independent contractor. So in this case, my client came to me and is just doing a one-off project for not a lot of money, and it didn't make sense to create an LLC because frankly the cost of the LLC would eat up almost all of the money the client was going to receive from this job. However, if you're starting a business where you're going to be continually working as an independent contractor for a variety of different businesses, then it may be time to consider whether an LLC or some other corporate form makes sense for you and your business. The main reason is there's a lot of different tax advantages and financial advantages that you can get from being an incorporated business that you can't get if you're just working as an independent contractor as what's called a sole proprietorship. I've got other videos on my channel about how we look at whether it's time to incorporate or stay as a sole proprietorship, and this is just a quick question for today, but definitely if you're looking at whether or not to create a company for that independent contractor job, you want to talk to a professional and see whether or not it's going to make sense for you. And question number 5, also related to that, is do I need to do the publication requirement in the state of New York? So if you create an LLC in New York, one of the steps you need to take is you need to publish a notice of the creation of your LLC in a newspaper. One of the big steps that I see missing when people come to me if they've set up their LLC in New York online is they never got around to the publication. And this is especially if you're located in New York City. If you're in Manhattan, if you're in Brooklyn, these are very expensive steps to take to publish in the local papers. If you're upstate New York, if you're in a smaller town, then the publication requirement is a lot less onerous and it's a lot easier to work with. But if you don't do the publication, then the state can actually restrict you from doing certain types of business, and if you bring a lawsuit, they can actually force you to do the publication before you're able to bring the lawsuit because your company, your LLC, will not be in good standing. Now, this is also just a New York specific requirement for LLCs. This isn't necessarily the case for every state. It's not even the same case in New York for every type of company. So if you're going to do an LLC in New York, there's a lot of these little things that come with it. Make sure you've spoken with a professional so that you understand what it takes and what the best steps are for you and your business. So that's our 5 questions for this week. We're still covered in snow after last week's big snowstorm out here, but we're making it through and things are hopefully going to warm up soon. If you'd like to ask a question for future Friday 5 episodes, there'll be a link in the description and it'll take you to a website where you can submit a question. I hope everyone has a wonderful long weekend, and I'll see you next week.